Hey guys, Evan here back in the video, and today we're going to be doing a review on the Mezco Anguirus figure. Now keep in mind guys that the review that I did last week and the reviews that I'm going to be doing for the next few weeks are based off of the figures I got from the Mezco set. This includes Anguirus, Mothra Larva, Rodan, and of course Godzilla. Since I reviewed Mothra Larva last week, I'm now going to review Anguirus, and Anguirus I can already say is a way better figure than the Mothra Larva figure. And I'm going to explain why with my favorite pro of all, which in my opinion is the detail. The detail about this figure is very, very nice and is very accurate to the Anguirus design. I say this because of the body textures we see all across the body, where we have these kind of scale looking textures, very accurate there. Facial detail I think is also really nice, a little bit above average there in terms of the accuracy. Very nice detail with the claws, the feet, the legs, everything really. Just everything looks very reminiscent to the Anguirus design. And is one of the reasons why detail is my favorite part about this figure. So let's get into the next thing I like about this figure. So the next thing I like about this figure is the articulation. The articulation on this figure is, in my opinion, very, very good, and I'll explain why. If you guys can recall in my last review, I said that a Mezco, not a Bandai, which usually deserves at least 4 joints of articulation, a Spark Doll, which usually deserves around 3 joints of articulation, a Mezco articulation joint should have at least 2. And I say that because I'm understanding that these figures are 4 inches, they're not meant to have many articulated joints, and I understand that. This, on the other hand, excels from that of Mothra Larva, which only had 1 joint and has 5. That's right, 5. You have the head that moves, feet and the hind legs right here, and that makes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So again, the fact that I said that this should have at least 2 joints but ends up having 5 is very, very impressive and something I can really credit Mezco for. So let's get into the next thing I like about this figure. The next thing I like about this figure is the paint job. Now the paint job is something that is very, very close to being just as good as the articulation, but was only slightly above average, and I felt that the articulation was slightly better. I say it was a close call mainly because the paint job didn't really have many colors. It didn't have much of a variety, which is why the articulation was better. What I mean by that is that it's overall a sluggish, brownish color. We have 2 different versions of it, of course. The one on the top, the sluggish brown on the top, and the sluggish brown on the bottom, which takes up, I'd like to say, 60% of the figure. Of course, the only other colors that are different are the colors of the spikes and the claws, which are a yellowish sluggish color, the white for the eyes, and the black for the pupils, and I guess you could call it the red booming color of the interior mouth. So again, the paint job on this was pretty good. I did, as I said earlier, feel like the articulation was better because of the standard that I gave the articulation. So very, very good paint job that I can credit this figure for. So let's get into the cons of this figure. So basically, when it comes to the cons of this figure, there really isn't that many. It's really just one very, very tiny nitpick and one, average nitpick. The really, really tiny nitpick, which I'm literally going to be taking a 0.1 point off, is the fact that the spikes here are actually sharp. Now, I know what you might be thinking. How does that actually relate to the figure? I mean, that's kind of, if anything, more accurate because Anguirus is supposed to have sharps. Now, I know you guys might be thinking, like, how does this matter? Why does this matter? I mean, if anything, it's more realistic because, it's Anguirus. It's supposed to be a spiky kaiju. But in my opinion, it matters because it affects the way in which you kind of maneuver the figure. If you want to do a fan film with it, posing with it, it's kind of uncomfortable to be holding it in such a manner where your fingers are going to feel actually, like they're being pointed again. I also mentioned that while setting up the set for this review, I actually dropped this on my foot, and as you can imagine, it really, really hurt. Again, I count this as a nitpick because all the other Anguirus figures I have do not have this issue at all, so I wish they just followed the protocol for how those figures were made. I wish the spikes could have been more vinyl-y. No, it's not a word, but you get the point. I'm just trying to say it should be more vinyl. The second con I have with this figure is that I know that I said the articulation was good, but I can't help but give a con to a glue seal. And if this isn't a glue seal, then it's a very, very stiff joint, and that is the tail joint. The tail joint, I mean, I can't, again, back to being the spikiness of the problem, I can't even move it because if I do, I'm going to press against my finger with these spines, and it kind of hurts. To make a long story short, no, I don't think this actually moves, which is annoying. I mean, that would give it 6 joints of articulation. That would have meant the articulation would have been way above average rather than just slightly above average. So all in all, I would rate this figure a 9.4 out of 10. Of course, I'd recommend getting it, but if you're going to get this, you'd have to get the rest of the Mezco box set, which in general I recommend. So without further ado, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys later, and bye-bye.